So, hey friends, welcome to the WeddingPros podcast. Today we have a really special episode, something I'm really excited about. And, if you are in the wedding industry, obviously you already know, this has been a really tough year, right, Jay?
I would say it's been one of those things where every year is tough.
Yeah.
But this year is unprecedented, at least in our industry, especially with the trajectory we were on. I think that's probably the biggest thing. It's like a lot of people felt like we're going this way.
Yep.
And to feel like you have to go back, it's probably pretty discouraging for a lot of people.
And in a lot of cases, it's almost like you're starting over, right?
Yeah.
I've definitely seen in our business this kind of be a reset for us. A reset of are we really doing the things that we want to do? Are there other things that we can be doing? Just kind of like a refiner's fire of what process is and what are we doing that's maybe repetitive. But then also just in general, what do we actually want to be doing? So today's episode, we're going to be talking about diversifying your business.
Yep.
We were actually pretty lucky because our business from the get-go since 2012 has been pretty diverse. One foot in the commercial
somewhat
world.
On purpose, somewhat totally just by accident.
I mean, Jason and I are just serial, hey, I want to do this. I'm going to try to do this. And so we kind of have our feet in a lot of different things to start with. But this has really been an opportunity to be like, okay, what else? Maybe we pull some things back that maybe aren't making us super diverse. But anyways, we have a good episode today that I think will help a lot of people, especially people that are starting their business. Maybe you have a successful, wedding film or photography business and you're like, hey, 80% of my work is gone for the year. And so that's 80% of my income. What can you be doing now to diversify so that if coronavirus hits in 2021, you might be a little bit more saved by the fact that you're more diverse.
Yeah, we're going to help. We're going to bring up 3 questions you have to ask yourself about your market, and about your skills, and about your relationships that will really help you decide where to diversify and how to diversify. But before we do that, subscribe, guys. Definitely hit the bell. If you are listening and you're a listener, let us know by giving us those 5-star reviews. That really helps us out a lot. And tell your friends. And that's what I keep telling people when people message me and say, oh, I love your podcast, it's going really good, we've enjoyed it. The best thing you can do for us is just let your friends know, because our goal is to give out content that helps people. Mm-hmm. And we want to help as many people as we possibly can. We're not being enriched by this by any stretch of the imagination. And so for us, this is a labor of love. So let people know, because we want the industry to do better. We actually think it's crazy, but I think podcasts like this are more important now than ever, because people need new ideas. They need to be inspired. They need to be encouraged. But also for a lot of people that have been doing businesses for 5-6 years, you get an opportunity to restart your business now, mm-hmm. which is kind of what we're talking about today. You get the chance to diversify your business because you have time. You say, I have 80% less revenue or 80% less weddings. Well, that's 80% more time. Yep. And what would you do if you had 80% more time to diversify your business if you were starting from scratch? You get that opportunity now. So let's talk about that now. So our own business, let's just start close to home, right? When this happened, the first month, the first thing that we did is try to shore up our contracts, which is hopefully what a lot of you guys did. You tried to make sure, first thing I wanted to do was make sure we were going to retain at least some of our revenue for the year. Mm-hmm. So we, got people to pay up front, did a range of things with our contracts, got our lawyer to fix some things.
It's kind of like a, oh shit moment. Are we covered? I think everyone was kind of in that panic of just okay, is my butt covered?
Probably like many of you guys.
Yep.
We did it to another level. We had, did we have about 70 weddings booked already? 80 weddings?
We had 90 weddings booked by the time coronavirus hit.
For this year.
Yep.
So, and we rescheduled 70?
Yeah, we're almost up to 70 reschedules for this year.
Yeah, and so that for us equals about 240 grand of revenue.
Yeah.
That we're going to get next year, or we're just we got this year. Mm-hmm. So figuring out how that math worked. And that's the first thing we did. The next thing that ended up happening to us after we kind of got through that initial storm. So Some of you guys are still in that storm, whatever, but we kind of wanted to get that out of the way as soon as possible. Was we had to live with the reality of having all this extra time. What are we going to do with this time? Because for our business, we get roughly, Jared, would you say 25 weddings booked after the season starts a year? 20 to 25 weddings?
Yeah, usually from May, after May, maybe we book another 20 weddings.
Yeah, we would say in-season booking. So we're counting on like 80, 90 grand to come in, maybe a little more.
Yep.
But, 80 to 100 grand to come in after the season starts. And so the next thing I looked at was, oh crap, that money's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like the money for next,
or at least severely diminished.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I was thinking gone because I was like, what if we have no weddings?
Mm-hmm.
It's just totally gone. I went worst case scenario, and I'm like, that money's gone. So we started looking at everything, right? And I want to give you guys just this picture. This is not a brag. I just think people should give you their numbers when they tell you what to do, and so we're going to give you our numbers to the best of our ability, so that you understand like what we've had to go through, and so that there's a little more credibility in terms of we're not just saying to do stuff. Like this is stuff that we've experienced and went through, and we paid a really heavy price. We this is a crazy number. So year to date, we have lost over last year. We have year to date. Oh, that's our expenses. I don't want to do that one yet. So year to date from January 1 to August 6th, it's August 6th right now when we're recording this podcast. Last year, we made $169,000 more than year to date now.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like $170,000 that we've lost since the beginning of coronavirus in income.
Mm-hmm. And that's a number, obviously, if you're running your own business, you're self-operating. It's just like, it seems like a lot of money. And it's like, well, how can business ever survive that? For us, we're kind of in a position where we're like, well, we have made adjustments to make it so that.
Well, yeah. And I want to be clear. We never once really panicked. We just started immediately doing math and moving money around and figuring this stuff out. So why are we able to absorb $170,000 of loss? That's why I want to, where I'm getting at with this. We lost $170,000 because of coronavirus year to date. Maybe some of that will be recouped. That was the first thing. I tried to figure out how much of this am I going to recoup at a later date through bookings that are just moving into next year, all that junk. But the other thing is we have spent year to date and our expenses, our total expenses, we are down 98 grand.
Yep.
So the first thing that we did is we pivoted and we spent a lot less money. Now, some of that is going to be moved into next year because of contractors and people that help us out doing the weddings. And we didn't pay them this year, but we're going to pay them next year. And then the other thing that we did was we got PPP money, right? So that recouped it. And when you actually do the math between our savings and our PPP money, we are up we're actually up 20 grand over last year.
Yep.
Which is kind of nuts when you look at that.
Well, when the government gives you free money, I mean, it's nice.
Well, it's not just the free money, though. So, because everybody could have got free money.
Sure.
Probably many people listening got the free money, and they're not up. Why are we up? This is why we're up. Not only did we look at the whole picture, not only did we go for the PPP money and help ourselves in that way, not only did we spend less money, somewhat by, unfortunately, having to let some non-essential people go, but also just we're not buying some of the gear we're normally buying. We're not doing some of the things that we normally do. This is where diversity comes in. So our income on a monthly basis or annual basis, what would you say the breakdown is between our commercial side, Pixel Press Media, which is a web design marketing firm. We also, of course, do photo video for that side of the business, but it's mainly not have other things. Like two of our employees that's in our office know nothing about photo and video. What would be that breakdown our total income?
Yeah, so of course it changes every year, but generally year over year, it's probably, 2/3 is Stop Go Love, our wedding side, and then 1/3 is our commercial side.
Yep. So the commercial side obviously took a hit. Like the day it happened, I lost 24 grand annual contract right off the bat. So it's not like we lost. It's not like nothing was affected on the Pixel Press side, but The other side is some of our clients were retail clients, right? And they really needed a lot of web help and development help during coronavirus to set up their e-com and things like that. So we actually were very secure on that. So every single month, we've set it up in such a way that probably about we're getting annually about 1/3 of our income is on retainer. And so that wasn't that affected. And because we had
You're talking about just the commercial side?
And our total income. Our total monthly, like in some months, it's way more. It's like 70% of our income is retainer income if we don't book a ton of weddings.
You're not talking about wedding related, though.
No, I'm talking about we're a diverse company, and this is what it allows us to do.
Yep.
Because we're diverse, we're doing about 1/3 of our annual income on retainer, which means every month we're making the same amount of money no matter what happens.
Yep, and that's mostly through web design and not even design, but just, hey, if someone needs updates, we give them a certain amount of hours, and then if they don't use those hours, hosting, which we don't do any work on, it's just we set them up years ago.
Basically
and they keep
passive.
Yep.
But so this is coming in, and this is what I'm telling you about is not you need to set your business up this way. I'm saying because our business was diverse, it allowed us to absorb $170,000 of loss and be much slower in our reactions because we could really think and be like, okay, I'm not going to we haven't lost a dime in our salary, me and you.
Yep.
The employees that we didn't have to let go haven't lost a dime in their salary. We didn't get the bonuses that we normally would do, of course.
Yep.
But
our profit, we're not going to make probably any profit this year.
No.
Maybe we do take, Mike's advice and do put a little bit of profit, even though it's a crummy year.
We're certainly not going to be this amazingly profitable company this year, but we're not going to go out of business. We're paying all our bills, everything's set. The essential things about who we are totally set, and that's because we're diverse. This is not me telling you that you should do this, because you have to figure out what you can do, and that's what we're going to talk about later, right? So, I mean, can you imagine if we didn't have we didn't plan on coronavirus, but if we weren't set up the way that we are, and then this happened?
Yeah, I feel bad for a lot of people, especially if you just started your business maybe in the last 3-4 years, and you're probably getting to that prime of I feel good about my product, I feel good about my business,
my relationships are good.
My relationships are good. 2020 is going to be the biggest year. And you are all in on wedding films. Maybe you even just started as a full-time wedding filmmaker.
Yeah, and you can only do so many things.
You can only do so many things. You're editing, you're shooting. Maybe you brought on an associate this last year. You're like, hey, I'm going to build this thing up. And now it's if 80% of your business is pushed to next year, that's going to affect you this year, and it's going to be affecting you next year.
Yeah, you're not a bad business person if you are not in the position we're in.
And we not to beat a dead horse, but it's just, if you are struggling this year, this year it's not your fault that you're struggling this year. This is complete. When the government says you can't work, this is not your fault. And a lot of times, I think people might make you feel like it's your fault if you set up a bad business or if you're not diverse. Diversity is hard. I think we just happened upon it early in the business where we were just too ADD to just do one thing, to do just weddings. We were like, oh, we want to do commercial work because we can do it. And so I think we got pretty lucky. Now looking in hindsight, we see the value in it, and we're like, oh my gosh, if we didn't have this, we would be screwed. Yeah,
this is not us saying we're so much better than anybody else. We're just saying, trust us. You want to try to build towards this because it'll build peace of mind. And it might not be your fault. It is not your fault if you're struggling this year. But if this happens again, and you have an opportunity to get your business stood up again, and you haven't learned that this could happen at any time, and I will say this could happen at any time, and it always could have happened at any time, and we're naive to have not thought through that.
Yeah. I've always seen, we have one client, they're a hardware and lumber store. We do a lot of our commercial work with them, and they are, again, hardware and lumber. And so right now they're big on hardware. So it's all essential needs. It's all cleaning supplies. It's all mulch. It's all,
insane
building
amounts
supply.
of lawn care.
So when the coronavirus hit, all their commercial lumber went away because they were no contractor can actually
Boston
do work.
shut down.
Yeah, Boston completely shut down all construction. So that side is gone. But at the same time, I've always seen them as diverse, and like they were able to crush it and kill all their sales.
They had their 3 biggest retail days ever.
Yep.
This spring, we set up an e-com store for them that did like $200,000 in revenue.
Yep.
In 4 months.
And I've been a part of this company for 12, 15, 20 years at this point. And through the financial crash of 2008, I really saw that come into play, and that's what kept them alive. So
retail kept them alive when their commercial building went down.
Yep.
And I think it's the same for your own business. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is how can we build diverse businesses? Maybe most of it will always be weddings, and that's awesome. You're a wedding professional. Keep being a wedding professional. We would never, that's what this is all about. But I also believe wedding professionals have skills that can be used in multitude of ways, and you can build a diverse business that is much more stable and can weather the storms of a very volatile market, and really determining how vulnerable am I to vulnerability. And I can tell you, if you have more than like 60% of your business in one part of a market, your business is vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And
it's so funny. Jonathan Snyder, a friend of ours, was like, the wedding industry, I remember him saying it in September of last year, it's bulletproof, right? And I thought the same exact thing. I was like, the wedding industry is bulletproof.
Recession proof is what everyone says.
Yeah. When are people not going to get married? And people will always get married from here until forever, whether they have money or not, in photo, video.
Unless the government tells you cannot get married at all.
Exactly. So just anyone who says that, tell them, shut up and knock on wood from here on out. But
it's your fault, Jonathan.
But it's just no.
You did this. You started coronavirus. Spread the word, Jonathan Snyder.
No, so no matter how you feel, like that's something I've been learning in the last few months is just like, okay, even the wedding industry, what are some other areas, even videography, even creative arts, diversifying myself away from that to something that's more of an investment side of things, and just so that you are preventing yourself from losing everything in 1 year is a good thing.
So a good friend of ours is going to come on a little bit, and his name is Jordan Bunch. He's been on a couple times. He's a good friend of the podcast, personal friend of ours, and we're kind of cut from the same cloth in a couple ways. And the biggest thing that he does is he's always trying to diversify his business. He's trying to get commercial work, various markets within the wedding industry, not just the high end or low end or mid end, but like he's always looking for ways to turn lemon into lemonade, to take the skills he has, the skills his team has, and generate more income from them. And I think hopefully some of you guys, like if you're the type of person who wants to shoot 10 weddings a year and go vacation, this is not the podcast for you. This is for the podcast to people who want to have unsinkable businesses that can weather the storm. And I'm telling you, that dude who shoots 10 weddings a year is screwed with coronavirus. That guy is much more vulnerable than we are. And so in a little bit, we're going to have Jordan on. Jordan is actually on a tour bus right now with the Libertarian presidential nominee, Jo Jorgenson. I think I said the name right, hopefully. Mm-hmm. Yep. And we're going to hear, because he's got this crazy story about one of the ways he diversified his business. So we're going to have him on right now. What's up, guys? So, hey, we're bringing on Jordan Bunch, friend of the podcast, friend of Jared and I. He is a incredibly awesome business guy. He's a great filmmaker. He's a great dad, great husband. And so Jordan and I were talking at the beginning of, in the middle, throughout, we talk often about as this thing was launching, right? This terrible, terrible, terrible crisis. And Jordan started, I could see the wheels turning really early on. So, Jordan, you're doing something currently right now that is pretty crazy, right? So tell everybody where you are.
Right now I'm on a tour bus that has Jo Jorgenson's face on it. Jo Jorgenson, if you haven't heard, is the Libertarian presidential candidate. He's running for president of the United States.
That's awesome.
And I am riding around on this bus with her, and we're going to, I don't know how many stops. I think we're doing like 25 stops over the course of 16 days, something like that.
So are you her campaign manager? Is that what you're doing?
No, but I'm working closely with her campaign manager. No, I am making videos. I mean, 2 videos a day. I was going to attempt 3, but that was stupid.
So your eyes are bigger than your stomach?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm making 2 videos a day. I'm making one that's like a highlight of all of her speeches from the day. And then another one that is like a vlog, like sort of like behind the scenes, what bus life is like. So like, it's interesting because sometimes Jo is in the vlogs and sometimes she's not. But like I think we just released it. I sent it off to the headquarters. Anyway.
Where can everybody watch this stuff?
Yeah, so you go to Jo Jorgenson on Facebook. You got a Facebook page, and all of the videos are up there.
Very cool.
But like, we just put out a video, like whenever she was first leaving the trail, like she was still at her house and she was about to go to the airport. She like went outside to say bye to her cat, and then a bat flew by and scratched her. And so she's been having to like go to get rabies shots all along the way because
Oh my God.
yeah, it's like the craziest thing. So I think that I heard that either Joe Biden or Trump actually sent the bat over to her. So
that's what I was going to suggest. Maybe Russia even.
Yeah, it could be.
So that's awesome. So we've been talking on this episode about diversifying your business. This is something you've kind of always done, though, right?
Yeah.
And we were kind of, I don't know, Jared kind of brought it up as like, he talks about it a lot just with our own business before even coronavirus, but it's something that we've been talking about even more. So how did you land this very diverse kind of like seemingly out of nowhere gig? I know you have personal like affiliation with that the Libertarian kind of movement, but also it's a little more than that. How did you land this gig?
Well, so I have only an affiliation for this, like to the point that like I believe in the values and philosophy of libertarianism.
Yep.
But I've never been like, I did join the party, so I had like a card, but I've never like done anything for the campaign outside of, talking to people about the values and principles of, this way of political thought. So, but, like a lot of other people, I saw 2 options that I deemed horrible for president and was, really wanting to do something for Jo Jorgenson. And I didn't actually even know a whole lot about her, except for that she really is like kind of lockstep with libertarian principles and stuff. But anyways, I was like seeing the content that the campaign was putting out, and it was really horrible content. And so over the course of like 3 or 4 months, I messaged the campaign through like 5, 6 different mediums, trying to say, hey, please let me help you. I really, really want to help you. And I actually, so one of the things I did was I offered to shoot something for free. Like, if they're coming to Austin, like I would come and, they could come to my studio and I would film something for them as a donation to the campaign, But what I'm doing now is definitely not a donation to the campaign, because I would not donate, 2.5 weeks of road life to them. But anyways, that's what it turned into. So like I got a call on Thursday, asking me if I was interested. I sent a proposal in that same day, and then on Monday they hired me to leave 4 days later. So it's pretty wild. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's great. And I think Jay and I were talking about it yesterday when we were kind of putting the podcast together, is like we have this work that just kind of like finds us, especially when times are like harder. Like right now, we've just been like, how have we found all this like random work that has just kind of like popped up, And I think a lot of it, we probably have a similar philosophy in that we're like, yo, what can we do for free for something that we're really passionate about? And then it's like, then the work just kind of like comes, So like, I find that
this is more like, I think this is more like hunting.
Yeah.
Like, because I actually didn't do the free thing for them.
Yeah.
Like I just put it out there that I would do that if they came to Austin. that I would be willing to do that. I was not. It was not in like I didn't expect to get hired for something like this. But I was like, out hunting for things to do, and this sounded like an awesome thing to do, something to help the campaign that I believe in. So.
Yep, and it happens to get you paid as well.
I think it's so important. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, moral of the story is like, I think a lot of people think like you gotta like wait for stuff. Like stuff will happen. Put stuff out there, it will happen. Like I think you gotta go hunting for stuff.
I always call it you got to do a rain dance. Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's all about like you have to like make it rain. You can't wait for the rain. You have to go out there, do your dance, attract the. It's funny in weddings we talk about attracting your ideal client, right? But when you look at it, it's like, well, no, actually, you have like a wedding filmmaker has all the skills needed to do exactly what you're doing. You have more of the skills probably than a lot of people who've never done weddings because you're used to multicam. You're used to like editing on a laptop. You're used to like doing a lot of things in a very non-ideal conditions than other people probably like in production companies would be like, oh, I got to bring 8 guys.
Well, that's the other thing is like, it's because of the coronavirus, like my initial request to them was to at least bring 2 people. But that got turned down because they're trying to keep like the number of people down on the bus. So I'm doing this solo, which is complete madness for me. Like I'm normally not doing things solo. I know a lot of wedding filmmakers are doing a lot of things solo, and I used to early in my career. But actually, it's funny because up until March, when coronavirus kind of hit, I wasn't even doing any editing. I had stopped editing for like 2 years. So this is like trial by fire again. But in March, when things hit and I had to do some furloughs and stuff, I had to take on some editing again. So thankfully, I'd gotten back into it before this. Otherwise, I'd be in real trouble.
Yeah.
So is it probably pretty safe to say that if the coronavirus didn't happen, that you probably wouldn't be on the road with Joe right now? Is that kind of the case?
I don't know, because I think I would have like been reaching out to the campaign either way because it's like a personal thing to me.
Yeah.
But one thing I wouldn't be on the road for is like if I didn't have a team. Like there's no way that I could take off 2.5 weeks. Like my businesses would be dead when I came back if I didn't have a team. So yeah.
I think it's really interesting because through this whole thing, I think there's really 2 ways you can look at it. Like weddings, for me, like I've gone through a lot of times recently being like so uninspired by weddings because it's like you do everything you can for people and then they still are like, hey, we're going to cancel our wedding. We want our money back. And it's like, oh man, I had great interactions with you until right now. Like it's so hard to deal with this whole situation, so that's one way you can look at it and just be like, this sucks. This really sucks. Everything sucks. It's terrible. And then there's another way that you can be like, well, I have this amount of time right now. What can I do with it in a way that is inspiring? That's like donating my time to the Libertarian Party. And now I have this opportunity to do something that I really feel passionate about that maybe I wouldn't be doing if it was full on wedding season right now. Like right now, I probably wouldn't be able to do nearly the things that we've kind of pursued if it wasn't for the coronavirus hitting. So I think it's interesting. It's definitely interesting times.
Yeah.
But maybe an interesting time where you can pursue something you love. So
Jordan, before we let you go, what would you say to people about just how to hunt, how to like do that rain dance when it looks like there's nothing coming your way? How do you find that work and how do you make your own luck?
Yeah. Well, we have been super aggressive. So, your podcast is mostly wedding people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been super aggressive in the wedding space right now as well, and that has paid off tremendously. I mean, like, people are talking. I'm hearing so many people talk about I haven't done a wedding all year and stuff like that. Like, well, we've done 14 weddings since we opened back up in mid-May. Like Texas reopened in mid-May, and we've done 14 weddings since then.
That's awesome.
We've been like super duper aggressive. Like talking to like constantly reaching out to wedding planners, talking to them about new services that we're providing. Like, the fact that we're doing live streaming. We're actually helping out like these wedding planner associations with their live streams. Like, we're running the production side of it for them for free. And that has led to like a tremendous amount of referrals. Like, it seems like half of our referrals now are from this group of wedding planners that we were not like associated with in 2019 at all, and we've also like offered a new service that's like a, like sort of a less than version of what we normally would do for a wedding, where, one to be one camera operator. They're just making like a music video cut, some vertical videos for like no long form edits, because we're only shooting it with one camera.
That's a great idea. Who thought of that?
Exactly. Yeah. So that was like, part of like our conversations, you and me, is like, constantly talking and like having a good friend in this industry who you can like brainstorm with, like we've been able to come up with those ideas. Like, that has been killer for us. Like, we just launched it last week, and we have wedding planners that are like oohing and awing and like, just like chomping at the bit to hire this new, hire us for this new service that we're offering, because, it's an affordable option when people are looking for affordable options.
Yep.
So, it's the kind of thing where we can easily do 200 of these in a year.
I think it's what you're really saying is like looking for, what do you have that you can sell? What are the skills, the time, whatever it is, the team, and then what does the market want that they're willing? And I think it comes down to this. Most people are used to, this is how they're told. They're sold like, know your value, you're making art. And it's like, well, you're actually, because we're selling art, it has zero value in a market that has no luxury, like extra money. Like, the more the market becomes about getting essentials, the more what we have becomes less essential, basically.
Right.
And so you got to go, okay, well, where is that not true? Okay, well, the weddings are smaller, so I can do less time on them. So I can offer an elopement package. People's budgets are smaller, but they'll also be willing to maybe accept less. So I can send one shooter, live streaming. Like, where is the market telling you, because you're listening and you have empathy, where to sell and where to go? And just like with you said, I love this. I like the principles of Jo Jorgenson. I believe in what she's doing, and I see a need, right? They have video that's not very good. I can do video. And then you found your way into the room. That's what I find all the time, is like at the end of the day, some of it's being a good listener, and then a lot of it's being bold.
Yeah.
So, hey Jordan, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're on the road, but any last second stuff you want to say to people before we go?
Don't lose heart. I mean, this is an easy time to lose heart. A buddy of mine just posted earlier today that he just had a full-on cancellation for, what was going to be an $8,000 wedding. It was a boutique shooter kind of situation where, that's just a massive hit to them. Don't lose heart, press on, think about, who you can help. It's all about thinking of, whose problems can you solve? Mm-hmm. And when you think outside the box like that, then good things will come.
Yep. Where there's a problem, there's money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, hey, Jordan, have a great day.
Thank you, Jordan.
And thanks for taking some of your time on the road, and good luck out there.
Okay, so that was awesome. Jordan, I think one of the things that I really appreciate about Jordan the most is he's always just finding new ways to hustle and pursuing things that he's really passionate about. Like, this is something that I've always known that he's pretty libertarian. And when I saw that he was doing that, I was like, oh, of course he's doing that.
Yeah,
that's right up his alley.
And I'm happy for him, because he's like, I think the best things that you can get to do for work and art and whatever is the things that not only do they make money, but they represent your values.
Yep.
They represent what you believe in, and they represent something. That's just when you're in like that sweet spot of fulfillment and money.
Yep.
So good for Jordan. And the thing that we're talking about there is, not only is it financially rewarding and personally rewarding, but it's gonna build new pathways forward that are outside of the wedding industry.
Yep.
And so that's what we're talking about. Diversity in your income. It's basically all it really means is how can I get income that isn't directly related to what I'm currently doing? And it might be connected to the wedding industry, but in a different way. It might be totally outside of the wedding industry. It might be passive. Who knows? But that's what we're talking about today. And I think Jordan's done a great job. And I know that for many of you, this isn't a criticism. It's just it's more of think of it as an opportunity. You can do a lot better. If you could think about your business in a different way, you have an opportunity to do a lot better with diversity within your own business.
Yep. And it's not really, again, it's not a criticism of where people are right now, because I think if you're working hard at a business and like making moves and you finally get established and then coronavirus hits, I mean, that's not your fault. You had to give everything you had to this business to get it off the ground. I mean, running a business by itself is hard. Once you get established, I think diversity should be that next step. Like we just had Mike McCowitz on the podcast, and it's fix this next, what is the next thing that you can fix? I think one of the next things for a lot of people that are established, that are looking to the future, is diversity.
And it's only logical, right? Because this is the problem that's being presented to most of us right now is when the weddings go away, our income is gone. And that doesn't make sense because we it's not like our skills went away. It's not like people don't want video. It's not like people don't want photos or event planning or whatever skill we have. Like there's still opportunities. So let's talk about just a very simple 3 questions you can ask yourself in order to determine how to diversify your business really quick. And then we have some thoughts a little later, or maybe some specific ideas. Yeah. But really quick, I think everything starts with an assessment of yourself, right? And the first thing you have to determine is my income stream susceptible to volatile market conditions, right? How do you know that? Well, if something goes bad, right, can one single thing going bad take away all your revenue? So for some of you, the answer is very obvious. Yes, right now, because you're looking at how your business has been affected by coronavirus. But before coronavirus, like, it's not just that. Like, say a company moves into your area and they offer a similar product to you at a much cheaper price. Maybe they're better networking. Who knows? They're new. I don't know. That's the same thing, right? If that person can just take all your work in 2 seasons, it's the same scenario. Yeah. You're not diverse enough. It's not just that you didn't offer a good enough of a product or service. It's also like you aren't diverse enough. So diversity, assessing your income, I like to look at it and say, like, I don't really want to have more than like 60% of my income coming from one source with my business. I want to have like a range of different things that our business is coming from. When we look at our business, I look at it like video packages, a la cartes, photo packages, photo booth packages, and then retainers for Pixel Press Media, and then last second work for Pixel Press Media, and then just certain hosting and things like that. And I'm looking at all these income streams, and we're trying to make sure that they're within certain tolerances, right? So I know for a fact, like this year, all la cartes are going to be kind of down the tubes. Yep.
And coronavirus, I think, has affected all of those streams in some way, but some streams more than others, right? And that's, I think with diversity, we're talking about it's on a spectrum, right? There's nothing that's bulletproof here. No. Like, there's no way that you can be like, oh, this industry will never fail. But if you can find things that are way different from one another, that may be affected by an economic crash, you'll be able to survive better with this thing. But maybe when the economy's booming, it's not growing as much, but it's your kind of fallback. I think those are things that you should decide, maybe I should go into this field, whether it's in the wedding industry or outside of the wedding industry, just to, it's a backup.
One of the mistakes I think people make with diversity, and I get why people give this advice, is they'll be like, oh, do the thing that's going to grow the most, right? And so you look at like weddings and you're like, oh, I'll make so much more profit and I'll have so much more free time if I only did these $10,000 weddings, and of course the market for them is much less, all this stuff. So it feels very satisfying to just get rid of all the crap you don't want to do and have a business that's only focused on what makes you happy. And I don't personally think that's a good business. I think your business, if it doesn't have a bunch of crap you don't want to do in it, it's probably not very stable.
Yeah. And I mean, then there's money to be made in the things that people don't want to do, because other people probably don't want to do that too. So
Exactly. So we often have talked about parts of our business and we've been like, oh, I don't want it. It's such a pain. Can we get rid of it? Because it takes a lot of work. And sometimes it takes more work than I even want it to take.
I mean, Pixel Press Media is that way sometimes, because
Yeah.
it's like we really want to grow the podcast. We really want to grow our wedding business. And it's like when you have to go to certain meetings that you're like, my staff should be able to handle this, but they can't because they're not me. They're not the boss. Then it's frustrating because you're like, I want to do these other things.
Well, and
but
it's
I have
hard
go this
to
meeting.
get more than like if I have a client that pays me $14,000 a month,
Yep.
I'm not going to get more out of them.
Sure.
So that it's not going to grow. So I know I can't grow that side of the business. But like when you look at it, and if that's the only way you look at diversity, like where is the opportunity to grow? That's the thing I'm going to keep doing. And you don't go, okay, that's great. I'm going to grow this side of the business, but this side is so steady. It's stable. It's steady. It's not going anywhere.
It's a Warren Buffett side of the business.
They call it's bread and butter.
Yep.
This is your bread and butter. And I think everybody needs some bread and butter
Yep.
in their business. If everything is all that steak and that sizzle and nothing is just basic, boring, normal stuff that you do. Like, so I know photographers that do tons of family, they do tons of seniors, and they also do these glamorous weddings. And they're like, well, since these weddings aren't going on, I'm focusing more on this part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably before this, they were like, I wish I could get out of families.
Yeah. Yep. Now
it's
it's the thing that's saving them. That's a great
It's the thing
example.
that's saving them. So I think that's what we're talking about today. Is just like how this will allow you to pivot. And a lot of these things are going to be the things that you consider to be super boring or lame, but it's like, how can I make the most of my skills? So let's talk about those 3 questions you need to ask yourself, Jared.
Yeah. So we had a conversation. We whittled them down to these 3. The first one is, what does the market want? What does it desire? Second one is, what skills do I have?
Especially skills that you aren't selling currently,
Yep.
or you could sell more of.
Yep. And then also, who do I know?
Yep.
As well.
It's basically, where's the opportunity within my market? Where's the opportunity within my skills and myself? And where's the opportunity in my relationships? It's all about, like, first you look at your business and say, am I diverse?
Yep.
You know, can I be more diverse? And where are those opportunities within my business in terms of time and all this? And then you're asking yourself, okay, well, what does the market want? And what can I do? And who do I know that I can do it for?
Yep.
And I think those are the 3 big questions you have to ask yourself is, what is that market like asking for? Like in coronavirus with video, we have streaming services. A lot of people are doing a lot of that. Jared does not like it. I don't love it either, but it is a market opportunity.
Yep.
That's really what Jordan did. He asked that same question.
Yep.
But a lot of people are really going to be looking at this and going like, where is my opportunity in the market? And so let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. What does the market want?
Yeah. Where does the market, like, what does that look like to evaluate? Like, I mean, where is someone's market even?
So some things that I've noticed right now, currently in the market for both photo and videos, obviously those micro weddings. That's something that we've actually designed a separate package for ourselves, and have gotten into selling, and hopefully that takes off, because honestly, that's probably something that's going to be here for the next 2 years. These little micro weddings. I have people that are like, hey, next year we're not going to do a big wedding because it's not worth risking. We want to plan something.
So that means, by the way, that the market no longer wants your previous thing. And I think a lot of you are going to have to come to grips with that.
I think a lot of brides and grooms are having to come to grips with that right now.
Definitely.
And we're just kind of following along. So if you can't do a 200-person wedding, for 10 hours, the wedding's only 6 hours or 5 hours or 4 hours, what package can you readjust yourselves to still be very profitable, but maybe it's a lesser product? I think that's something that everyone should be doing, is designing a micro wedding package.
So when you ask that question, what does the market want? It's going to cause you to look at diversity in a different way. You're going to look at diversity of your product offerings, right? Which is going to be, am I offering a range of products to meet market expectations, right? For video, it might be live streaming. For photo video, it might be micro weddings, elopements. For planners, I know some planners that are trying to figure out a way to do. And I feel for planners and florists and
planners.
those
I
people.
think it's hitting probably the hardest because we can still do photo video.
Catering probably the most.
Catering's pretty
because they're
rough, too.
selling per plate.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like, do you want to make any money or do you want to make no money?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's the question we're having to deal with. Is like, and so like the market's demanding certain things. Can I meet the market demand? Can I meet the market? And hopefully, if you're offering less, you can just do more of it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be ideal. If you could get into a place where it's like, oh, now I can do 2 weddings or 3 weddings when I used to only be able to do 1.
Mm-hmm.
So when a market's offering, the other thing to look at with the market demand is, are they currently offering something that I don't sell at all?
Yep.
Like, we didn't sell streaming before this not because I can't do it. I actually know how to do streaming a lot. It's something I could probably do a tutorial on because I work at a church as well. And I work in a lot of those more broadcasty environments.
Mm-hmm.
But for weddings, I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with this crap.
Mm-hmm.
But the market's demanding it. And some of you guys might find a little niche. You
Yep.
might find a way to do this.
I think another way to look at it too is not only what the market is demanding now, but what is the market going to demand a year or 2 from now?
Mm-hmm.
I think right now,
drone only weddings.
one thing I can think about right now is all the businesses that are going to be going out of business in the next year or so because they just don't have enough work. And so I think like a photo booth, for instance, like we're trying to bulk up our photo booth and rearrange things so that when the market comes back, we're a real contender. And we've kind of taken it, you know, a little bit more laissez-faire of an approach in the last 2 years with our photo booth. It's like, hey, if one of our couples wants it, here it is. It's cheap. It's a good option for you. But now suiting ourselves up for competition, to be a real competitor against other photo booth companies so that when the market comes back, because there's going to be a thinning out of all these photo booth companies that are like, hey.
I mean, that's the big thing with this market diversity thing is like, for a lot of you, it's not about becoming a market leader yet in the new thing you're looking at doing. It's just about getting your foot in the door because people that are still standing, by the way, if your business is diverse, you're much more likely to still be standing. Mm-hmm. If you're still standing at the end of coronavirus, there's going to be a lot of market opportunity, a lot of pent-up demand, and a lot less people to compete with.
Yep.
And so that's the beauty of it. And it's sad because people are losing their livelihoods, but it's good for you potentially. So like you're not responsible for everybody else. You're responsible for your own house.
The good parts and bad parts of capitalism is competition. So I
think
it's
community.
I mean, we're hopeful that the listeners of WeddingPros are you know, coming out on top and being aggressive.
Can we just pause really quick and say nothing has proven more of the garbage of that crappy statement, community over competition, than coronavirus?
Well, the other thing that I just hope that people will just throw out the window of their vocabulary is like, all my clients are my friends. That's the other thing that I'm like, oh no. If anything is proven that your clients are not your friends, it's been coronavirus, because they'll just be like, oh yeah, we love you, but like,
can we have $4,000 back?
Give me all my money back, and I know that all that work. I'm gonna sue you if you don't. And like, okay, yeah, that's your friend doing that too. No, like,
if you were to say like, well, that's how much my mortgage is.
Yeah,
and they'd be like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't even care if you lose your house. Like, none of these people care. Like it's. Not to, like,
it's a separate conversation.
I don't want to be cynical, but like I just look at it and go like, you have to have a good business. You have to set it up to be successful. You can't just be like thinking that like other people are going to do it for you.
Yeah.
You have to fight for your own business.
And maybe there was a time for us where we're like, you know, we have this cool thing. We make a little bit of money on the side, whatever. And if you're part-time, you're probably more in that camp of like, whatever, I'll just work more hours at my normal job, like they're offering, whatever. If this is your full-time gig, I mean, you have to draw the line, on things like that.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So diversifying your business starts with determining what the market wants. Yep. And a lot of you, if you open up your eyes, you'll start to see, I've seen people doing front porch sessions. I saw somebody doing out open air studios that they built with like paper and stuff from a garage. They open up the garage and then there's a studio and they're doing family sessions right in the front in an open air studio. I've seen planners and caterers changing their offerings to fit within the context of a micro wedding. And then I've just seen some people like do what Jordan did, where he just said, well, I'm seeing this opportunity to do this video for something that's totally different than what I'm doing currently. Mm-hmm. But like looking, and this just takes hustle, right? You can't just be sitting there.
Yep.
Like you have to be like, how can people hustle more to find what the market wants? What would you say for you that's been kind of a...
How can they hustle more? Just Nike, man. Just do it. Find the things that you're passionate about. Again, I think that's it. I think it kind of bleeds into the second question, which is what skills do I have? But like reflecting on what you actually are, what you can actually service, what you actually know, I think is a way that you can start your search for your hustle, right? What are you good at? Is it only camera stuff? Is it editing? Do people need help with editing right now? I don't feel like they do. But I think the part of this question that I've kind of been reviewing personally is the coinciding question, which is what skills don't I have? What books can I be reading right now that is going to help me over the next year or 2 years when things do pick back up and I can, help my current business, but then also what are some other things that I can learn about to diversify my business? And for me, it's been even outside of the wedding industry with this question, real estate, investing, reading books about freaking money is a big deal to me.
Understanding money, where, I think for some of you guys, this whole market question is you're very uneducated on the market in general. And what is the market? Some of that is understanding money, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going to need to use this time to educate yourself. And that's a really good use of your time. You're maybe not making money right away, and you still need to make that money, but you also need to spend some time learning about where the market opportunities are and educating yourself on money and how does business even work?
Yep. Yeah, so I think that's a big deal. And if obviously if you're skilled in photo video, that's the place to start because that's just low-hanging fruit. It's like, I'm already good at this. If I'm a videographer, could I also do some photography for families and make $250 for a portrait session and give people photos and make a little bit of side money so that I can just feed my family? I think that's an easy, low-hanging fruit. Maybe it's an adjacent type of service that you can offer.
I mean, ideally finding something that's within your skill set that you're just not currently maximizing. If you can find something that the market wants, that you can do, that's easy for you to do, that is within similar, like that you're already used to doing, that's the best possible thing. Yep. That's like low-hanging fruit. That's most of your business being diverse literally just means finding more ways to sell what you're already doing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I mean, this is relating back to Jordan's conversation, his skills. What are his skills? Like, he's obviously great at photo video, but the thing that kind of merged him into this current role that he's serving in is, he's passionate about libertarian politics. And I know that about him. So he was able to merge those two things that he has knowledge about to create this great opportunity for him on the road and doing these things. So, what skills do I have? Also, what skills do I not have that I want to acquire? Again, I think just if someone can pick up a money book, I would say a good money book right now, Cash Flow Quadrant, if you're interested in learning about, the difference between making money and then also just acquiring money by having money. That's a great book to start. It's part of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I always tell people to read it and they never do. But that's a fantastic book about investing and learning how to be smarter with money. And it's been a big deal for me. So I've actually been rereading it and I think it's amazing.
So looking at your market and looking at what the market's asking for, and the market being every possible customer, not just wedding customers, like just local businesses, Facebook groups, I don't know, just what are people, even just guessing, saying people will probably need this. Can I make it? Can I do it? Is the first thing that I would look at and say you should be doing, because it's pretty easy to do. It's easy to look, and it will show you a lot about what you can be doing. The last question that you have to ask yourself is, who do I know? And I think in many ways, this is, if you know good people, then this is going to be the most, like the easiest way to diversify your business. If you don't have the relationships built up when diversity needs to happen, this is going to be the hardest thing, because relationships take time. You can't just like suddenly start knowing people who will give you opportunities. Mm-hmm. Like, I like that story that Jordan said, because he went and banged on the door for like 4 months to get that opportunity that he had. Right. And that's to start a new relationship with someone just cold turkey out of nowhere. It takes like being a bulldog. Most of us, though, like I had somebody ask me, can I just go call these planners? They're asking you about like getting more weddings, and they're asking me if they could just cold call planners. I'm like, do not cold call planners. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. Like, it's not, they're going to never want to deal with you if you cold call them.
That was a person asking you for advice?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, don't cold call planners. Like, you might be able to cold call venues and go like, say, hey, can I come by and visit? Because they're like physical locations and just different business models. But like, you can't just start a relationship with someone because you want their money.
Yeah,
I think you can't just be like, hey, you're a planner and I want your money. Can we be friends? Like, you have to start a real relationship. But some of you already have them.
I think yes and no on that, because if you cold call a planner and you're like, hey, I have plenty of time and I've watched your work for years now, and I would love to offer my services and be able to do a video for you. Would you be interested in that? I want to do it for free. That's a good use of somebody's time right now in developing kind of new relationships.
Well, I'd say that's an email, though. That's not a phone call.
Sure. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
It's like
cold call. I kind of lump all that into maybe not a phone call, but a cold email, I guess.
Yeah, you can definitely offer value out of the blue.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I would say. But like, that takes work and time, just like with Jordan.
Yeah.
It takes work and time. And so for some of you, that's going to be what you have to do. You have to build those relationships. You have to acknowledge that you haven't done a good job with it, and you have to find a way to do it. My guess is most of you who are wedding professionals already have some relationships. Mm-hmm. And you haven't built up the relationships maybe to the point that they need to be, that they're creating these revenue streams. But these aren't just planners. These aren't just venues. These are businesses you go into and patronize every day. The coffee shop that you love that might need a video or some photos that you can say, let me do some for free. And if it works out, great. Let me help you with your Instagram because I'm really good at photography. Mm-hmm. And I can help you with my Instagram. And I built 8,000 followers on my Instagram account. And I can help you with yours. Like, just... these are relationships that can turn into opportunities, not only because you have a skill set that they could use, but because you're their friend. You like them. You want them to succeed. Like, those are the most natural ways I think you diversify your business. For us, our main client, that you worked there in high school. Mm-hmm. These are this client we got because of our relationships with them, not because we're so amazing at marketing. I think we've done a great job for them. But a lot of people, when you look at diversifying your business, they always hear it's better to be lucky than good. I would say it's better to be connected than good. It's better to have relationships than to be good, especially when it comes to diversity.
Jordan mentioned it. They started a new product. We did the same. Kind of not lower end, but lower priced product. And immediately what we did when we started was 100 planners sent email that we've worked with in the past. Hey, we're offering this. And we had a lot of good feedback. And we have to continue to let people know, hey, this is what we're doing. This is interesting, but that's the immediate low hanging fruit of these are the people we know. Here's something that we're offering if your clients are interested, and essentially solving a problem. So what going back to, what does the market demand? What does the market want? I think all three of these questions really work together, and kind of like deciding what things that you can use to diversify.
Well, I think that's most people are. Where most people are is they're like, I'm stuck. What do I even do?
Yeah.
I'm just a wedding photographer. What do I even do?
Yep.
And they're not really aware that they actually have a lot of potential. If you're a planner, if you have a skill, there's more than one way to use that skill. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about here is like I have a skill of just doing project management and doing systems. That's why Stop Go Love has grown in terms of like the ability to do all the amount of edits that we do and like just having good systems within our staff. That's what I'm good at. You're good at other things within the business. And so we looked at the things that I was good at and the things that you were good at. And we said, well, how do we use these to scale? Mm-hmm. How do I make the most of my skills? That's what we're talking about. With diversifying your stream of income is actually going to be very rewarding for you because it's going to make the most of your skills. And you're going to, of course, and the last thing we're going to talk about here is you need to learn some new skills. You can learn some new skills. So why don't we talk a little bit before we close? Because if you can answer all three of those questions, I think you're going to find just naturally, and I encourage you, just write down a list that answers these three questions of what does the market want, what am I good at, and who do I know? And I'm sure you're going to start to see a little Venn diagram of where there's convergence and some interlapping opportunities where the market, your skills, and your relationships are going to go for it, target it, hit it. But at the same time, there's this other thing that's out there, which is the new thing that you can diversify in that maybe doesn't fit into any of those three questions. And you've been talking a lot about that for us and for yourself, new, trying to, what can we do that's just different than anything we've ever done? And I think a lot of you guys, this is maybe where you'll find yourself, where you're like, what do I need to do new?
Yeah. I mean, probably the last 2 years, I probably read too many books on just business and from smarter people than myself with finances. Is you learn about how to make money work for yourself through investing, through real estate, and a lot of it is just really securing your money and having it just grow. And I think if people were able to read books on, real estate, and one of the reasons why I like real estate is because you can invest and your money just grows over time.
It's pretty hard to lose unless you just make a really bad choice.
Yeah, the economy could crash, but over the long haul, over the course of 30 years, more than likely the value of property is going to go up. If it's essentially just betting on the American economy most of the times, which I think is a lot of times a good fit and a good choice. So real estate, I mean, I think Airbnb is an interesting, thing. If I had enough kind of money put aside right now, that's something I might be interested in, getting into. I know a lot of people that have made plenty of money, buying a place in New Hampshire or Maine, and, they're able to rent it out. Obviously right now, probably a hard time to, Airbnb may not be a great option because people can't travel. But that's probably going to pick up sooner than the weddings will. Full scale.
Well, and also it's not even about just coronavirus. Mm-hmm. It's just like, and that's what I would encourage you to do is like, forget coronavirus. Don't even think about coronavirus. Think about like just having a diverse stream of income. Mm-hmm. Yep. Unsinkable ship is what I always say. Like there's no one place where somebody can punch a hole in your hull that sinks you.
Yep.
They have to do it. They have to like cut it all off.
Yeah.
And like you need parts of, like, for me, just my personal revenue in our home, my wife and I. My wife has a job. I have the job at my company that pays pretty well. I also have a job outside of the company that pays pretty well. And we're still doing 120 weddings, and I'm working 2.5 jobs, and like, that's just personal finances, right? And there's some skills that seem unrelated, others that don't. But like, I think looking in terms of like, don't limit yourself based on the skills that you already have is really what we're saying. Mm-hmm. Looking for other opportunities since you have all this free time.
Yep.
And some of them could be just being smart with your money. And this is what I'll say to kind of end out is like, this is what I hope happens. I hope people just diversify their wedding business so that they're not just only doing weddings, even with the exact same, whether it be flowers, food, photography, planning, filmmaking. There's no reason why you should only be doing weddings with those skills. Mm-hmm. That's just, I don't think it's a good idea. I think you need more than those clients. You need commercial clients.
And not just in a way that's like, oh, whenever it comes my way, I service it, but like actively pursuing and hustling.
It needs to be, in my opinion, at least 25% of your income or more. If you can get to 50-50 commercial, like, that's great. hopefully you have thought of some ways you can diversify your business. Hopefully you've just taken out a piece of paper and wrote down, and made like a little Venn diagram, right? Of what the market wants, what you're able to do, and who you know. And hopefully you've also been able to think of some new things, right? That you could be doing, maybe things you've always wanted to do. But diversifying your income. But like literally probably the thing that is driving me the most nuts right now, Jared, not to say that everyone who's buying these cameras, there's this new wave of cameras, right, is coming out. And it's sad that it's coming out now, by the way, because they're going to be revolutionizing the industry. They're going to change we'll talk about that another time. I believe they're going to change the products we have to offer. Mm-hmm. Okay? I don't think it's a small thing that's happening in the industry. That being said, a lot of people are buying these cameras who I know for a fact don't have diverse streams of income. And I'm like,
yes,
what are you wasting your money on? Your business is not a real business, and you're about to drop $6,000 on. And this is not like the guy who like every time I see Adam Grumbo, he has like 200 Pelican cases. And that dude he's working like crazy. Like if you're at that level in your industry, like of course you need to do camera. Like coronavirus might not even be affecting you in as much of a way because maybe National Geographic is calling you. Mm-hmm. Who knows? But if you're like a person who's like went from 20 weddings to 5, why would you spend $10,000 on a new rig? I can't understand it.
The whole camera thing, it's great, but it really drives me crazy because it's the sexy thing, right? It's the gear acquisition syndrome. But at the same time, you're like, okay, now coronavirus hits and you can't feed your family because you bought a new camera. Instead of investing it in your business, like investing in your business is not buying new gear ever.
No,
ever.
This is one of the wisest people I know. They're a really successful real estate person, and he goes like, don't buy anything that decreases in value. Lease it.
Yeah.
And that's not, we don't do that only, but like his point is like, it's not an investment to buy something that's going to depreciate.
Yeah. So, and it's hard when you're a bunch of nerds and like we're nerds as well. And you're like, oh, I love this stuff. We buy stuff all the time. And
stuff all the time. But like, I get it.
But at the same time, it's like, if you aren't diverse and you are spending that money, I just don't understand how this is taking up a majority of the conversation, online.
So
right
what
now.
Would be better on forums, talking about overheating or buying gold?
I love buying gold. Gold just passed $2,000.
So if everyone who bought a camera instead bought gold, would that be better for their business?
I think it would be way better for their business. So it wouldn't be as nerdy. You'd be way more Scrooge McDuck lame. But I think you would make more money off of it. You're not going to make more money. I'm sorry. Like when I was a kid, my stepdad would always be like, well, if you're going to buy that, you better make money off of it. And so it's kind of always been ingrained in me of like, okay, I have a 5D Mark IV. I make a lot more money than a majority of people who just bought the newest, Fuji, Sony, whatever, off of that Mark IV. And it's not because of the camera that we get work. It's because of a litany of other things. And so, whenever we buy new gear, I think that's the question that we have to ask ourselves. Is this going to provide new opportunity? We just bought a bunch of Black Magic stuff last year because it's going to open up an extra $100,000 a year worth of revenue, right? So is the gear that you're buying really making your business more diverse, right?
It doesn't mean you're always going to know either. You might make a mistake. I'm not saying like, oh, you bought a new camera because you thought it was going to allow you to get into a certain market and you were wrong, and so you're a stupid idiot. I'm just saying like, hopefully you'll be more thoughtful than just like, I was talking to John Bunn the other day. He's like, I'm going to buy this camera. He was a little defensive, by the way, so it was funny. But he bought the new Sonys. And, he's like, well, I've been planning this transition for a long time, and I want this many months under my belt with it for next year. And like, he had his reserves and all, like there are people who are
Did he go into his vault that he made off of all that?
His gold vault after selling.
After selling his curriculums, he went in and got some gold bricks and
he went and bought his new Canon or his new Sony with gold. But like there are people who are gonna buy these cameras who it's a very good business decision. I'm not ripping on anyone buying the cameras, but on one hand, when I'm seeing the same person talking about buying a camera and that same person talking about struggling with bookings, and I'm like, what are you doing? And and when I look at it, and when you look at it, when Alex Douglas looks at it, and when people in our industry who are very experienced, and we're like, I'm not buying those things till this industry bounces back. And it's like, well, okay, there seems to be like a prevailing wisdom here. That's like one of the things that keeps you from diversifying your business is all the stupid crap you buy instead of diversifying your business, instead of hiring a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
$5,000 probably will pay for a virtual assistant for a whole year.
Yeah.
And you're going to buy a camera.
I'm glad that you brought up this last minute rant. I really think it really comes down to gear makes us feel good about ourselves and gives us validation, right? In a lot of ways. When I buy a new piece of gear, I'm like, I made it. I bought a new camera, you know. And
now we can finally make the thing.
Yeah, I can talk to all my wedding videography buddies about the new camera I got because I'm so successful. You know, I mean, that's what it is a lot of times, right? It's validation of like, I am a professional, so I get to buy new gear, as opposed to taking it from a very kind of conservative standpoint and being like, well, I have a camera and I can make probably just as much money with the current camera that I have as opposed to a new camera, you know, and I'm going to save up for that new camera.
I just feel like new gears,
when it's $1,000 less or whatever, you know.
New gear should be the thing that you do when your business is good and stable.
It's really good that we're not sponsored by a camera company right now. I'll just say that.
Down the line. And by the way,
down the line, you should definitely buy
full
it.
Disclosure, I bought a new gimbal last week. We bought two Fuji X-T4s. Like, we buy stuff all the time. I'm not saying don't buy things. I'm just saying that's not diversifying your business. And we have a diverse business. I just kind of vetted that so I can do kind of whatever I want. So don't tell me what to do. But I would say if you don't have a diverse business, it's probably because whenever you have the opportunity to invest in your business in a way that would diversify it, which would be buying something that will allow you to either get into a new market or hiring someone to multiply your time and expand it, or just buying gold. I don't know. Just doing something that would diversify your income. And instead, you just buy a new camera. And I would say don't do that. Now that you have this opportunity to recalibrate your priorities as a business, change that. Set it up so that like you're investing in yourself first. Then go buy the cameras. If at the end of the year, after you've invested in your business, my mom has always told me, if you're saving and you're tithing to your church, then you can do whatever the heck you want with your money. And I would say if you're saving and you're investing in your own business in things that will help you and stabilize you, and then you have like profits and you're doing all this stuff and you have 10 grand sitting around at the end of the year and you want to buy a brand new cinema camera for your business or whatever it is, go ahead and do it. Who cares? Like, we spend money like drunken sailors sometimes, or it seems like it, but we're not. What we're doing is we're spending the money based on the fact that I'm like, we can afford it. We budgeted for it.
And we're not getting paid a dime less in the middle of coronavirus.
Nope. And I think it's because we have a diverse business. And so like that's your priority right now. Your priority is not new cameras. Your priority is fixing your static single source of income so that it's not that anymore. And whatever you need to invest, whether it be paying for more marketing, like some of you are like, oh, the Knot's stupid. You're probably better off spending $5,000 on the Knot than on a new Canon R5.
Yep, probably, maybe.
And it's like most likely, and you're most likely, and it's like that's what we're really talking about. Is like you need diverse lead sources. Like we could go way crazy down this rabbit hole of diversity because we do it in every part of our business, from our lead sources. Jared, you cannot take your hands off that thing.
Well, Jason, this has been just a great conversation about diversity. Thank you so much for your time. Good talk, man.
I mean, diversity's all the rage in today's culture.
This is actually why you want to buy new gear, is because
this is why we have to buy new gear.
Breaks in the middle of your podcast. Perfect.
So thank you guys for checking out the WeddingPros podcast. Hopefully you guys have had a really great coronavirus season. But on a serious level, do diversify your business, and also subscribe.
Diversify your YouTube subscriptions by subscribing to the Wedding Pros podcast.
Yes.
So we can eventually afford new blue microphone
I bought new ones
stands.
this week. So I bought new ones. I'm trying really cheap ones, $25 ones.
Oh, great. Coronavirus ones.
Yes. Yes, but diversify your streams of knowledge by subscribing to the Wedding Pros podcast and following us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever platforms you use. Give us a review, give us a comment, and let people know, hey, I love this podcast. I found it, and it really helped me with my business. And also check us out on our Facebook group. We've been having some cool conversations lately. Have an awesome day.